Well, hey, good morning. Coming to you from South Central Nebraska here with the channel brand. This is the 2026 channel CropCast, July 9th edition, and I am Tyler Brugdenhill, technical agronomist here in South Central Nebraska. So, hope everyone had a wonderful 4th of July celebrating 250 years of freedom in this great country of ours, and hopefully everybody still has their fingers yet. So, with that, let's jump right into crop growth and development on the weather front. Looking at Kearney this week for a location and right at 100 growing degree days ahead of where we would normally be at this time of year. So you can see the trend line there overall. We've had definitely some dips right at normal, but here since about the end of May, we've been trending at a little bit ahead. So not a huge trend ahead, but just good to know that we're running a few growing degree days ahead of normal. When we look on the precipitation front, I'd say as of late, it probably feels a lot worse than what it actually is for the entire growing season. So, looking at the 20th of April through yesterday, we are looking at the 73rd wettest growing season during that time span for South Central Nebraska. So, look at Southeast, they're in the 37th wettest, caught a couple more of those storms. So again, not great, not bad, but again, looking at the future forecast, as you can see on the bottom there, we're going to get a few days in the upper 80s, but then we're back into the 90s. So need to keep those rain chances getting a little bit more frequent than maybe we've had the past 10 days. Like to see those a little bit closer to more frequent at 2 or 3 times a week, especially heading into pollination. And that's a good segue into the corn development cycle. So where we at, a lot of corn entering the late vegetative to even tasseling phase here. So what does that ultimately mean? It ultimately means our ear size is darn near set, right? We've basically maxed out the number of kernels. Once we hit tassel, we're not going to develop any more kernels. It's really about from that stage forward how many of those we can pollinate, and of those kernels, how many can we keep? Number one, with the climatic conditions that we're given by Mother Nature, and then how big and dense can we make the kernels that we keep? So that's really going to be the task at hand here as we go into the next few weeks. So at tassel time frame, we're looking in the corn world. Really, we've used 64% of our nitrogen, 61% of our phosphate, and 84% of our potash. Now, the really interesting one is sulfur at this standpoint, which we've only used about 10%. A lot of people that I've talked to in the past weeks, opt to sometimes put that on a little bit earlier than this stage, just to give themselves some credit. Big thing is know where your soil levels stand, but the other piece of this is if we can do that in with a fertigation, I really, really like what that's shown me in the past for nutrient uptake, but also in what we're getting in regards to yield. So, good thing to think about. And again, this is a general curve to understand. Hey, when is my corn signaling it needs the nutrition that it needs to make the maximize yield potential for what we're trying to do? Now, what's the other thing that can interrupt this growth cycle? We go into corn disease. This is a big hot topic, right? Um, I didn't even opt to talk about tar spot this week. We know tar spot has significantly increased in the number of fields that it's been found in the last 3 weeks. The one thing that I would say in the fields and the commercial trials that I am walking, um, is it possible to find it? Yes. Is it at rates? Have I found it at rates where I am very, very concerned we need to be putting fungicide on ASAP? I haven't simply found that. So be diligent, be scouting, understand what susceptibility your hybrid specifically carries for that. Because again, we know it overwinters. We know it's a resilient disease. So let's make sure we're really doing our due diligence into making the correct uh, product application, whether that's a Delaro Complete and using multiple modes of action against something like tar spot, but let's make sure that timing is right too. We want to be sure we're maximizing things like that residual piece, so we're getting our maximum dollar spend there. So, what's the other thing that I think about? Obviously, southern rust is still top of mind for a lot of folks. I just ran the map this morning. I don't know if you can see it; it's very small. 5 confirmed counties in Texas, and this is going off of the Crop Protection Network maps, and 1 in Georgia. So again, they're looking for this. I know it's a big disease down there. They have to deal with it every year. We only have to deal with it if it blows in by southerly winds for us. The other thing that I think about with tar spot here, and again, we already talked about this, those rain chances are dissipating pretty darn fast. So what are we running more of? Obviously the pivots. Well, that does a really nice job of creating a really nice environment for that tar spot to potentially blow up. Now, the one thing that's on our side, if we remember about tar spot, it's more of an advantageous disease if we get those cooler trends. So 70 to 80 degrees, high humidity, a lot of leaf wetness, all of those things. So looking at our forecast, that's not what we have coming up. So, will that help stave it off or set it back a little bit? Time will tell. But again, things to think about for sure as we head into one of the most critical corn, if not the most critical corn stage for growth and development coming up here. And then lastly, we don't want to leave out soybeans, right? We love to talk about soybeans. Everything at basically R1 to R2 that I am seeing, even the early ones starting to go into R3. So the big one for me to think about here is really the dry stress indices. And I thought it's a really simple chart, but it does a nice job of understanding, hey, even up through full flower, those soybeans can take a little bit of stress from a water standpoint. When we get past R2, when we're fully set on flower, we're starting to develop pods really, really heavily and set pod size, but not only pod size, but starting to set into seed size. That's where I get really, really concerned about shorting this water. And it's about that time where we get really tired of watering corn. We don't really think about soybeans maybe as hard as what we have with corn. So the one coaching piece that I would have is just, pay attention here in the next let's just say 6 weeks at least in the soybean world to make sure we're giving those the optimum potential that they have in the field right now. August rains, I still believe make beans, but let's do our due diligence in making sure we're watching that stress indices on the soybeans as well. That'll wrap up this week. As always, make every acre count, and thank you for the time, and we'll see you next week.